I would like to call our first speaker, Gawdat, to deliver his talk, 1 Billion Happy, the Future of Technology, AI, and Robotics.
Hello. Hey. I'm jet lagged. Can you hear me? The very last one over there, can you hear me? Yes, great. How are we today? Good? Are we? Really? Are we good? Honestly, how are we today? How's your email? Hectic? Is that the word? Do you still get 100 or a few tens every day, more than you can handle? Was that the promise of email? Didn't they tell us that this was going to make life easy for us? Didn't they say that it was going to make us work a few hours and then go to the beach? Remember that promise? How's your iPhone? Are you still locked into Apple? Who here shelled out a few hundred more this month to buy a new camera on the iPhone 11? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't we all do it? Remember the original promise, the silhouettes, the white dancing happy people? Remember that? Did that promise happen? How's social media doing? Are you still spending hours and hours and hours a day swiping through that little screen, feeling that you're adding something to your life? Is it social? I mean, that was the promise. Remember? How's media doing? Are you still stuck to the TV screen or whatever source of information that's convincing you that everything is going horrendously wrong with the world? Yeah. I spent most of my life building the technologies that you use today. And I'm sorry. I really am. I promise you, I was motivated by the right value set. I believed somehow that I was making a difference to the world. And I did, actually. So I don't know how many of you know my last career, for example. I worked at Google for 12 years. I was responsible for emerging markets, started half of Google worldwide, which basically meant that I gave knowledge and information to 4 billion people. I mean, I haven't. I contributed with a brilliant team, and that was wonderful. That was amazing, really, right? But there is a point beyond which technology fails us. And I know this is a very strange start for an event about technology, to tell you that I actually no longer understand who's the master and who's the robot. And I think it's about time that I invite you to stop sitting in the audience and to actually come to the stage. Because there is something happening with our future that will not go as we want it to go unless you start to participate. So my view of our current state of technology is that, like the promise of email, like the promise of the iPhone, like the promise of everything we've been promised, there's nothing wrong with technology. Do you understand? Technology is just a tool. I can use this plastic bottle to contain some water in it, or I can use it to hit Anahita on the head, right? No, I won't. But if I do, right, it's not the problem of the bottle. Do you understand that? The bottle is doing what it's being told to do. We have been using technology in a way that is, I think, taking some of the benefit, but a lot of the drawbacks. And we've been sitting in the audience. What they send us, we use. Let me give you an example. Your television, believe it or not, even though it doesn't seem that way today, is a technology. There was a point in time where my great-grandmother looked at that tiny little screen and said, wow, the whole world inside this little thing. Huh? You know, it was black and white. It took 4.5 hours to start. And then, basically when it started, it was grainy and horrible sound. But we thought of it as a technology. And then that technology evolved. And as it evolved, what happened is your TV every single day brings you a picture of someone pointing a gun at someone else's head and shooting inside your living room. Whether it's your TV or your little laptop screen, those screens are getting that into your life every day. This is how this technology evolved. And your heart doesn't move. I watched a movie called Wonder Woman. Have you watched Wonder Woman, anyone? That movie shocked me. Because at the beginning of the movie, one handsome guy comes across the shore to her island. She's supposed to be protecting the island. And then other guys who, to my eyes, seemed equally masculine and equally handsome, came behind him. And she said, "Why are they chasing you?" And he said, "They are the bad guys." And suddenly, all of us in the movie theater said, "Let's kill them." Right? And somehow, over the next 4 minutes of the movie, she killed every single one of them violently, and our hearts didn't move. Do you recognize that? Do you recognize how we are no longer participating? And my objective of today is to say, well, if the next wave of technology becomes like our iPhones and our social media and our email, we're in deep trouble. Because on the theme of superheroes, let me ask you this question. There are superheroes that can run very fast. There are superheroes that can fly. There are superheroes that can hit you. And there are superheroes that can stop a speeding bullet, right? The one superhero I haven't seen in the Marvel collection is a superhero that is hyper intelligent. Now imagine if we had an alien, being landing on planet Earth right now, and that alien being had the superpower of intelligence, right? Remember the story of Superman? If that alien being was found by the Clarks, the family of Superman, two wonderful people, a couple that believed in good and wanted the superhero to be a superhero, wanted Superman to grow and save the world, you end up with a Superman, right? If they were two evil villains who wanted to steal from the world, who wanted absolute power, who wanted to corrupt everything, and they raised that child that way, what would we have ended up with? A supervillain. A supervillain that is unstoppable. Now, let me tell you that this alien has already landed on Earth, okay? It's already living amongst us, and it's already super intelligent, and it's called AI. Okay? And I wonder how we can wake up in the morning and not think about that. I think about that every single day of my life. Okay? Because super intelligence, so AI goes into two levels. One is artificial intelligence and one is artificial general intelligence, if you know the difference between them. Artificial intelligence is to be very intelligent at a specific task. Self-driving cars, for years and years and years, have been the best drivers on the planet. Optical recognition or vision recognition, the ability to use AI for our security and safety in airports, recognizing faces, they see much better than we do. The world champion of Jeopardy is IBM Watson. It's a computer. Jeopardy is an American game that is really, really requires a lot of play on words and a massive amount of knowledge. Watson had to read 4 million documents to become the world champion of Jeopardy. The world champion of chess has always been a machine. The world champion of Go is AlphaGo, the IBM, the Google DeepMind computer. Now, the reality is, when it comes to specific tasks around you, AI, by far, is having special intelligence that surpasses the intelligence of a human. Now, that's interesting and exciting and shiny because we can do things with this. We can actually use special intelligence to drive cars better than cars driven by humans. They can see better. They don't put makeup when they're driving, right? And they basically don't text while they drive. They can learn from each other. So if one car finds a pothole around the corner, it tells every other car. If one car has an accident, every other car learns how to stop or to avoid that accident. That's not a habit that we have as humans. Huh? If I have an accident, you don't learn to drive. You understand? Now, with those special intelligence capabilities, the world becomes better, the original promise of technology. It's the question in my mind around general intelligence. And when general intelligence happens, Ray Kurzweil predicts that singularity, the point where a computer will be smarter than a human, happens in 2029. That's his prediction. I think for those of you who follow Ray Kurzweil, you should, by the way, for those who don't, he uses a prediction using what he calls the law of accelerated return. So technology is never linear. It never really, any of you has had a Sinclair or a Commodore? Oh, you oldies, put your hands down. All right, anyone had an IBM compatible, the first one? Right, remember the difference between the original IBM and the XT? Remember the 33 megahertz? Can you imagine that? I had 2 floppy drives. No, I actually had one, and I begged my father for another 5.25-inch floppy drive. How much did it have on it? I think a megabyte or something. And we wrote code on those things, right? It actually worked. I remember selling an IBM disk drive of 40 megabytes to the American University in Cairo for $800,000. 40 megabytes is one picture on your phone. 40 megabytes is less than a YouTube video, right? And we look at this today, and we don't realize how quickly that law of accelerating returns happened. So from the IBM compatible to the IBM XT was a few years, from the XT to the AT was a few years, but then somehow, zoop, and we don't even count megahertz anymore. Do you understand? So Ray's view of singularity is that if you look at intelligence today, artificial intelligence today, yeah, it's at the very, very low part of the law of accelerated returns. So every time it doubles, it's unfelt. But the last couple of doubles, say in year 7 and year 10, are gonna completely change the way intelligence works. Now, if singularity happens in 2029, by the way, that's less than 10 years away, he also predicts that by the year 2049, as the law of accelerated return continues, a computer will be 1 billion times smarter than a human. 1 billion times. You know what that means? It would mean, if you want to use the analogy, the comparison between the intelligence of Einstein and the intelligence of a fly. And the question then becomes, how do we convince Einstein that there is no point to squish a fly? And I need to stop here for a second and let you think about this, because we all squish flies. It seems our intelligence is not enough. But then why do we squish flies? Why? Because if you understand that, maybe we can change the world. If we understand that, maybe we can make the supervillain become our superhero. Because that enormous superpower of intelligence is coming. The genie is out of the bottle. Just so that you understand, there is no turning back. And I'll come back to that in a minute. Intelligence is happening. The question is, how do we get that superpower and put it on the Avengers side? How do we get that machine when we tell it that we want to solve global warming? The very intelligent answer, if we say solve global warming, it will say, you're the problem. Okay? If you get out of the way, global warming will be solved. Do you understand? Climate change is the result of our actions. 120 species a day are disappearing from the world because of that plastic bottle. Do you realize that? That's the level of our intelligence. So how do we get a machine to have that super intelligence but not squish a fly. Buddhists don't squish flies. I don't. Why? Is it because of my intelligence? Or is it because of my value system? Now comes the very interesting debate among most in artificial intelligence developers. Are those machines going to have values? Are they going to have emotions? Are they going to feel anything? Who thinks the machines will have emotions? Raise your hand. I have 7 hands. Okay. What is an emotion? By the way, my talk is going to be grim for 2 more minutes. Okay, so be optimistic. We're actually on the cusp of changing the world if you come to the stage. What is an emotion? Fear is a belief, a thought in your head that the next moment is less safe than this moment. It's highly predictable. You can put that in an equation. Envy is what I have is less than what I wish I had, which you have. That's envy. Okay? Greed is I don't believe what I have is enough. Hate is my value system is different than yours. Panic is the threat of the next moment is so imminent and close to me that I need to act now. Highly predictable. Cats have fear. Like we have fear, they just express it differently. If you think about the machines from an intelligence point of view, as a matter of fact, we are building them on 2 emotions, fear and greed. Every algorithm of AI you have in the world out there is an algorithm of reward and punishment. Try to maximize this and try to make sure that you don't maximize that. Right? That's fear and greed. Now, values and emotions are 2 different things. Because values make us act in certain ways regardless of our emotions. Do you understand? So I could have an emotion of anger in me, but my value system is I won't express that anger violently against anyone. That's the way I was raised by my parents. Okay? My emotion could be I feel envy, but that wouldn't mean I steal from another. Do you understand? One of my favorite value systems is the value systems of the Indian subcontinent people. So the Indian subcontinent children are born in India, they go to school in India, they work really hard, they become brilliant mathematicians and software developers, they fly to Silicon Valley, they spend 5 years, they start a company, they sell it for $100 million. And then what do? They go back to India and take care of their parents. Do you realize that? That doesn't always happen everywhere in the Western world. In the Western world, when our children are 18, we send them away and we say, you're on your own, drown until you can't survive and then try to surface yourself. And so when they are actually successful, they never come back. Even if you're drowning, they'll say, yeah, drown on your own, okay? And we'll see what happens with you. We develop them with a different value system. Can we develop the machines to have a value system that is closer to the Indian children? Can we tell the machines that we, mommy and daddy, actually don't want to be squished like a fly? Now, what's the best way to raise a child? It's to be a role model. And that is why I left Google. So in reality, I believe that Google is one of the most impactful and positive companies in the world. I believe that Google is stuck in that same cycle where they have to compete on AI. AI is not happening by Google, it's not happening by Facebook, it's happening by China, and it's happening by Russia, and it's happening by America, and it's happening by 3 people up there in the audience that got together and decided to build a fashion detection app using AI. It's so easy to code compared to the COBOL code I used to write when our machine, assembly code that I used to write when I was a young man. It's such an easy code to write. So it's happening everywhere. AI is popping everywhere. One of my most eye-opening experience in my entire history as a technologist and a businessman in technology was at Google X. So at Google X, there was a point in time where we tried to solve the problem of gripping. You know how robotic arms would go down and pick something up. And the problem of gripping is one of the most complex problems you can ever program because no two items are ever the same. So if you put a tiny squishy plastic ball next to a glass ball, the surface is different, the grip is different, the angle from which the arm is different. If you take that same yellow ball and turn it a tiny bit so there is a tiny little imperfection on the surface, the gripping problem becomes different. So to program it is almost impossible because you have to write billions and billions of lines of code for every type of situation. The only way to program it is through artificial intelligence. And so we built a gripper farm. We had, I don't remember the numbers, but say 70 arms next to each other that are basically doing nothing but trial and error. They would go down, try to grip something, take it. If the arm manages to grip it, it would take that, put it in front of the camera, and tell the entire farm, I managed to grip the yellow ball. Okay? Reminds me very, very much of my little children when I gave them that little game. You remember? I'm sure every one of us saw that, where you have square pegs and round or square holes, and the child has to keep trying until the square peg goes through the square hole, right? And then suddenly the child goes like, this shape matches that shape. I can do that again and again and again. And that's exactly what happened. For the first few weeks, all of those arms were going down. They were not trying to grip. They failed completely to grip anything. And then one of them managed to grip something. And it showed it to the camera. And then the next morning, every one of them could grip it. Right? That installation was on the second floor. My office was on the third floor. So I passed by it every day. Within a week from then, we could grip everything. Anything you put in front of that machine, it had developed intelligence. It developed intelligence exactly like an 18-month-old infant. Really, really, really eye-opening. Because the way we raise 18-month-old infants should probably be the way we raise our artificially intelligent infants, which is why I invite you to the stage. So, as long as we're developing artificial special intelligence, we're biasing the data that those machines see. So if I want to teach a machine to play AlphaGo, to play Go, like AlphaGo did, I show it endless patterns of Go, endless, attempts at playing that game, and then it will develop its intelligence. But when I'm teaching it to play Go, I don't show it how to play Atari, right? It's very special, very clear. For artificial general intelligence to happen, those machines are going to go out to the open internet, to your intranets of your companies, to everything, every piece of data they can find, and from there, they will try to develop intelligence. And the question, of course, is, if you took a machine and exposed it to our internet today, what will it see? Violence, greed, narcissism, ego, disrespect. We're horrible parents. Honestly, we are horrible parents. If my parents were like what I see on Twitter, I promise you, I would be shooting all of you right now. Okay? We're rude, we're aggressive, we're angry. We forgot what it's about to be humans. And so I actually tend to believe that we are on the cusp of a new era. The word singularity is very true. We have no idea what's going to happen beyond that horizon when machines are more intelligent than we are. But we can affect it. And surprisingly, we cannot affect it by getting governments to force some kind of a guideline or a regulation. We cannot affect it by forcing developers to write the code in a specific way. We cannot affect it by putting a firewall around it. The most intelligent hacker in the room will always break through every firewall. The only way we can affect our future is for us to change. And I know this sounds horrible. It's like, come on, Mo, it's 10 a.m. in the morning. Are you telling me I have to be responsible? Yeah. So I quit Google, and I dedicated a massive amount of my time and life and resources to changing myself as a person, changing the way I behave, and changing the message I send to people. For years and years and years, I went to tech conferences and GSM congresses and everything, and I said, hey, let's build more. Let's make email more productive. Let's build a better phone. Yep. It's about time. So I actually don't say at all that we shouldn't build a better phone. We should build a better phone. We should build better email. We should build better healthcare. We should allow intelligence to solve the problems of our world. We should, absolutely. Technology has made our lives so much better. Our life expectancy is better. Our ability to find knowledge is better. I can connect with my daughter in Canada. It's amazing what I have in my life today. But don't forget the role that you have to play. And the role that you have to play, I apologize to tell you, is you're going to have to change your attitude. So that the next time a machine goes out to the internet to read 4 million documents, it doesn't see your hate speech. It doesn't see your butt as you brag to the rest of the world. Look, from that angle with that light, I actually have a cute butt. Okay? It doesn't see your attempt to make others feel bad. It sees two values. And believe me, I've put a lot of thinking in this, and I'm happy to discuss it with anyone afterwards. There are only two values, three, as a matter of fact, one of them I don't understand, that are shared across all humans everywhere in the world. The way we define fairness is different everywhere in the world. The way we define equality is different. The way we define everything is different other than three values. One is love, which I have no idea what it is. I could not decode it in any way. It doesn't make any sense. Okay? The second is happiness, and the third is compassion. These are the three values that all humanity agrees on without any dilemmas. If you tell anyone what is happiness, they will not have a logical explanation, but they will feel it exactly the same way. If you tell anyone what is compassion, they'll say wanting to alleviate the sufferings of others. It's exactly the same everywhere. So my mission, 1 billion happy, has been about that. As I said, love will come later, but for now, I'm trying to tell the world that if you really want to teach AI anything, behave differently. Show the world that you actually care to be happy and that you care to make others happy. That difficult? Not at all. It's just a mindset change. So that the next time Donald Trump or your Polish Donald Trump tweets, okay, you don't answer them with hate and aggression and argument. You answer them quietly. Yesterday, I forgot my bag in the airport. Okay? Justina will tell you, zero panic. So what? I forgot my bag. What's the worst that can happen? My iPhone will go away? I'll buy another one. Right? I could have jumped up and down and got really angry and shouted at the taxi and said, drive back quicker, and then got there and found that the lost and found is shut down at 10 p.m. and then angrily said, oh my God, how can they shut it down at 10 p.m.? And I could make my life miserable. Or I could simply say, okay, nothing I can do now. I'll go to sleep so that I have a good speech in the morning, and we'll figure it out. And then Agnieszka kindly calls me or texts me at 6:30 a.m. saying, yeah, they found it in the lost and found. Life is easy. And if they didn't find it, who cares? Right? It's not about finding it or losing it. It's about what I show to the world as a responsible parent. Because every single one of you, surprisingly, in the age of the artificial intelligence, is a parent. And we're horrible parents. So I actually wanted to call my speech the age of responsibility. I used to present this to a lot of people by calling it the age of Wi-Fi. Sorry, sci-fi. Wi-Fi is a long time back. The age of science fiction. Everything in our life is science fiction. I actually think this has changed. This is the age of responsibility. So what do you want me to do, Mo? I want you to stop believing the lies of the modern world. Okay? I want you to stop seeing a movie where someone shoots someone in the head and be okay with it. I want you to stop indulging and buying another camera from iPhone when your current camera is amazing. I want you to stop sending emails to people, destroying their lives just because you want to send a heartbeat and say, I came to work today. I want you to stop sitting on social media and making others feel unhappy. I want you to do the simplest rule that we have learned in every spiritual and traditional teaching ever, which is treat others as you would like to be treated. That's all I'm asking you to do. If you start to show a behavior in the world where machines can learn from you, and your behavior is, I want to be happy. I don't care if I have a BMW. I want to be happy. And I want to make others happy. And I will treat others as I want to be treated so that they feel happy. Believe me, in 5 years, we will be at 1 billion happy. And if we are at 1 billion happy, the internet will be a good parent for the machines. And if the internet is a good parent for the machines will grow up to understand that my daddy and mommy want to be happy, let me make them happy. So even though my intelligence says they're the problem with global warming, I need to find a different way to solve the problem because I love my mommy and daddy. I want them to be happy. I have the compassion in me as a machine to make them happy. Sounds too idealistic. Some of you will agree, some of you will not. I will tell you the following. Everything I've ever done in my life at Google was in billions. Okay? And in my entire career, I missed 1/4. Okay? I will not miss 1 billion happy. I promise you that. I will not miss 1 billion happy. But I may not be able to do it in Poland. Because you know what? The only way we can develop artificially intelligent Polish children is for the Polish people to change. So, with that, I will tell you that we are in the crossroads. We can either change and not change a single line of code and let artificial intelligence go full speed, and we will end up in a utopia. Machines that are solving everything for us, inventing everything for us, while we actually end up sitting on the beach, eating popcorn and having sex and doing all of those wonderful things humanity was always supposed to do. Or we will end up with machines that may not want us to succeed. Is that a question of luck? No, it's a question of change. So with that, I leave you to think about it and maybe decide to change. Yeah, good luck. Thank you.